Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. As of today, it looks as though Donald Trump is in the process of freezing federally funded cancer research in the United States. You got that? Cancer research. Why? Well, to be totally honest, we're not sure. But on his orders, the National Institutes of Health has frozen everything. Cancer research, Alzheimer's, diabetes. There's a lot not to like about the American healthcare system, but health research is one of the things that we do really, really well here in this country. We spend a lot of money on it for good reason. The NIH has a $48 billion budget, which funds 50,000 grants to 300,000 researchers across 2,500 research institutions nationwide, all over the place, studying all kinds of things. Institutions filled with some of the brightest minds from all over the world come here. I know some of them. Some of them are family members. Came to the U.S. so that they could conduct gold standard research in medical innovation to try to cure diseases that bedevil us. It's been woven into the fabric of this country for decades.
Among the buildings of the National Institute of Health to be dedicated here today stands the National Cancer Institute, created through provisions of the act which I signed on August 5th, 1937. The work of this new institute is well underway. It is promoting and stimulating cancer research throughout the nation. It is bringing to the people of the nation a message of hope, because many forms of the disease are not only curable, but even preventable. Beyond this, it is doing research here and in many universities to unravel the mysteries of cancer.
The NIH is not particularly controversial. I think it's a crown jewel of American governance, and it's doing really important, life-altering work. And again, it's not centralized, right? It's out throughout the country. Folks just spending every day in a lab trying to do things like find a cure for cancer or Alzheimer's or a treatment for a rare illness. And yesterday, I don't think this has gotten nearly the attention it deserves, that research basically just stopped. I don't mean this like symbolically either. The actual convening of meetings and grant boards to approve funding were just abruptly halted. In at least one case, mid-meeting, apparently because of orders from the new Trump administration. And again, I'd like to tell you why they're doing this, but honestly, no one really seems to know what's going on. NPR confirmed with one cancer researcher that a scheduled meeting next week was indeed canceled. And as the academic journal Science reports, yesterday alone, officials halted midstream a training workshop for junior scientists, called off a workshop on adolescent learning, because gosh, we don't want that, right? Minutes before it was to begin, and canceled meetings of two advisory councils. Panels that were scheduled to review grant proposals also received 11th hour word they wouldn't be meeting. Staff also got word of an order directing the immediate and indefinite suspension of all travel for NIH employees. And as NBC News reports, nearly all scientific communication coming from federal health agencies, including the NIH, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, have been stopped until further notice through multiple directives of the Trump administration. Now, on that last point, communication freezes like that have happened before during the transition to a new administration. But again, to be honest, a lot remains unclear. And that muzzling could be really dangerous if we have like a huge outbreak of something. And right now, it really looks like health research funding, like the channel of health research funding in this country, is shut down. One scientist told a reporter, "I have never seen this level of confusion and concern in people that are extremely dedicated to their mission." While a senior NIH official said the impact of the collective executive orders and directives appears devastating for the institutes. We're not talking about like controversial stuff here, okay? And I have to ask, who voted for this? Who voted to stop cancer research? The answer is nobody. Look, Donald Trump doesn't care about public service or public health. He cares about himself. He wants to go after the people he feels wronged him. And again, I'm sort of trying to make the best case I can understand here, that he thinks everyone in public health wronged him during the COVID pandemic, and he thinks they are his enemies in the deep state. He wants to shut them all down. I'm assuming this is just a pause. It's going to get unpaused. But again, I don't know. And there's some pretty serious stakes here because, as we learned the first time around with Donald Trump, who was, by the way, president for 4 years, infectious diseases do not care about politics, and they don't care about Donald Trump's image management. Remember when he openly boasted about artificially suppressing the tally of COVID cases?
Frankly, if we didn't test, you wouldn't have all the headlines because we're showing cases. But if we did, think of this, if we didn't do testing, instead of testing over 40 million people, if we did half the testing, we'd have half the cases. If we did another, you cut that in half, we'd have yet again half of that. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please. They test and they test. We got tests that people don't know what's going on.
I mean, this is the deepest possible delusion, right? The case isn't related to the test. The case exists out there in nature. The test is whether you find out about it. And the actual numbers kept going up. Not testing doesn't mean fewer cases. So to be clear, when we talk about how Trump is handling public health this time around, again, none of it's abstract or hypothetical, especially as we enter another precarious moment. Right now, you might have seen this. Medical experts are closely monitoring an outbreak of bird flu in this country. Thankfully, there is no evidence yet of human-to-human transmission, which would be a huge and scary development. That said, the virus is mutating. It is tearing through farms, even hitting bald eagles.
A bald eagle found in the western suburbs has been euthanized after it was suspected of being infected with bird flu. Last Friday, the eagle was spotted with its head drooping in Hinsdale and eventually flew a short distance before handlers from Chicago Bird Collision Monitors were able to capture it. Unfortunately, the eagle was euthanized 1 day later at the DuPage Wildlife Conservation Center.
I gotta say, the American bald eagle, the living embodiment of the U.S., the symbol, dazed and confused and dying of bird flu, a little on the nose. And listen, I get it. After COVID, people are traumatized. People don't want to think about what happened in COVID. They don't want to think about the aftermath. People don't want to talk about the possibility of another pandemic. Understood. But what do you think the Trump administration is going to do if the bird flu outbreak really does become a problem? You think the Stop the Test guy is going to want to release clear, direct, fact-based information to the public? Fundamentally, the lesson we had to learn the hard way the first time around under Trump is that manipulation of attention and messaging can win you elections, but it cannot overcome the implacable march of biology. Donald Trump never learned that lesson. And look, he won the election anyway because voters wanted lower egg prices. So it's a particularly ironic twist that one of the main consequences of this ongoing bird flu outbreak so far has been killing lots of chickens and creating a massive egg shortage and skyrocketing egg prices. Maybe people will pay attention to that.